the more you do something, the less you feel like an imposter in doing it. The more you prepare, the more you get feedback and insight. So I think you can overcome how much of an imposter you feel in certain circumstances. The difficulty is going into something new again and that feeling coming back. So I think you can control the feeling, but you can eliminate it when you get really comfortable doing things. And that comes with practice, and being prepared and getting feedback and input from others. So I think in certain circumstances, you can get rid of it completely. But then it'll always emerge again when you try something new, when you move outside your comfort zone. And I think it's about then how you help yourself and how you put in place mechanisms to help you overcome it and when it does arise. I think there's a number of things I've learned. One is that you is to be prepared for the situations you're going to find yourself in. So if there's something where you're going to feel particularly nervous, where you're going to feel particularly out of your depth, what can you find out before about that environment that can help you get ready for it? So if it's speaking, how many people will be there? What will the stage be like? Who's speaking before me? Who's speaking after me? So that you can start to think about the whole context. So making sure you've thought ahead and get as much information as you can about what is going to happen definitely helps. Being prepared definitely helps. It's putting in the hard work, but it makes sure you are coming across your best and you feel confident because you've got the insight, you've got the knowledge, you're well prepared, and you know what you're going to do, you know you're going to handle. And that preparation can often include what happens if something goes wrong, what happens if this happens, what happens if this is the reaction. And you can then start to make sure that whatever scenario might play out, you feel comfortable addressing it. But also, I think it's really important to do two things when you've got imposter syndrome. One is to think about your strengths and think about the things you are good at and think about things that you bring that no one else does, because no one can do everything and no one is good at everything. So there'll be others who are good at things that you're not. So there'll be things that you're good at that others are not. So really making sure you've got clarity in your mind about the things that you are really good at and that you bring that others don't will help then when you are in the situations where you feel like an imposter, you can more readily pull out that skills and experience and say, no, this is what I bring to a group. This is what I'm good at. And I think the other thing that is more experience for me that has taught me that I used to walk into rooms and assume everyone knew more than me about a certain situation. And then I started to realize they don't. Some people don't and don't pretend they do. Some people pretend they know more than they do. And you eventually learn to identify the difference. But it's really surprised me that often you assume people will know a lot about something and you feel like an imposter because you feel like you don't know as much as everyone else in the room. And it's that you need to change your background conversation and start telling yourself, no, actually, I know more about this topic than anyone else in the room, or I know just as much, or I know slightly less, but more about this. So be more realistic and more truthful with yourself about how much other people know, and don't assume everyone knows more than you, because generally they don't. Often, because we find something easy, we assume everyone does. And I think that's the first part of the background conversation you need to change, because the things that come easy to you don't come easy to other people. And it's important you recognize that those things are your strengths. So if the way to understand and learn your strengths are to test and do different things, but then get feedback. So ask for feedback and input. And you can ask it in a way, you don't have to say, what are my strengths? You can say in the last meeting, or when we were doing this program or this project, what did you value about what I brought? What did I bring that others didn't? What can I do more of? What do you rely on me for? What do you need? So you can start to draw out from conversations with people the things that you uniquely do that others don't necessarily have the same strength. I think the other thing is step back when you get compliments and feedback, step back and reflect. I think it's all very easy to always brush away the compliments and say, that's just somebody being nice, or, that's just someone, making conversation. But step back and reflect, say, okay, actually, is that something that I'm good at? that others aren't? Is that a strength of mine? So I think it's about this ability to just take a step back a little bit more and start to think about, okay, what am I observing that I'm getting positive feedback on? And what am I observing around contributions I make that others don't necessarily make? What am I observing about the background and information I'm gathering and I've got, and how you can use that to determine. One of the things I did quite early in my career is when I was doing some coaching with someone, I got them to speak to 4 or 5 people and just say, okay, what are my strengths? And then we picked out the things that were consistent across different groups. So, feedback, 360 feedback, formal, informal, it doesn't really matter, but taking the opportunity to get that feedback and making sure it's important to play to our strengths. It's important to be aware of our weaknesses, but play to our strengths. And I think the more clarity you can have about those strengths, the better you'll be, and the less you'll suffer from the imposter syndrome, because you're playing to your strengths and break things that others don't. The thing with imposter syndrome is it's not all bad. It brings certain qualities that make you someone that people enjoy working with in lots of ways. So it means you tend to be quite humble. So you're not someone who always has to know everything in the room, who doesn't let other people speak and contribute. There's lots of characteristics of imposter syndrome that actually, as long as you control the darker side, can make you a great team player, because you look to others, you seek input from other people, you take feedback from other people. You're more willing to adjust and adapt. So I think all of these are really important qualities and make qualities of good team players. The danger is when it stops you doing things. The danger is when it prevents you from doing something you need to do or you want to do. And I think that's where you need to control and manage. And one of the other things I've learned is that often I find it easier to overcome my imposter syndrome, not because I want to do something for myself, but because I know others need it from me. So often I'll gain more courage from saying, actually, this is what I need to do at the moment. It's not about what my ambitions, it's not about what I want to do. This is needed, and I'm the only person who can do it. So when you're in that position, you've got to overcome your imposter syndrome, and you've got to get on with it. And the more you do it, the more confident you become. So I think it's important to both, I think it's important to recognize that it brings a lot of really good qualities with it. It's not all bad, but you've got to manage the self-doubt, and you've got to recognize that sometimes you just got to do things, and you find ways. So don't let it hold you back, and don't let it stop you from doing things. And the way I find that easier is to think about not doing it for myself, but doing it for others, or for the organization, or whatever I'm supporting at the time, because that gives me the drive to get on with it and just get it done. So part of our leadership development and the leaders we want to see at stage are leaders who recognize, celebrate diversity, create diverse teams. And creating diverse teams requires a leader to be very attuned to the different needs of the people in that team, because the value of diverse teams only works when you get the inclusion right and everyone has a voice and everyone speaks. So, really strong leaders are able to observe and assess what each team member needs at certain points. So leaders who have people in their team who suffer from imposter syndrome need to do a couple of things. One is recognize it, make sure that they have people's back, so that they encourage you to be brave and know they'll back you if it doesn't work out as planned. Because people with imposter syndrome, they over prepare, they do less work, they generally often produce really good outcomes, but they need that confidence of somebody supporting them in the background to know that so they've got their back if anything does go wrong. It's also about helping as a leader, spotting where people are tentative or nervous and thinking about how you can build that confidence and encourage them. So again, leaders are great people to help you work out what your strengths are, what you can bring. And the other two things I think as leaders it's important that you make clear what you need of people in your team. When somebody with imposter syndrome, if you're told, this is what I need from you, it gives you confidence because you think that my leader is asking that from me because they know I can deliver it. So that gives a confidence, helps overcome. And I think the other thing is to push you to be brave. I think just make sure you create opportunities for those team members to go outside their comfort zone and push them to do it. Because the more you do it, the more you overcome and the more you adjust the mindset that I can't do that. So I think a leader who helps you identify your strengths, gives you confidence, has your back, pushes you, is really, for somebody with imposter syndrome, I think they're really effective ways to bring out the best.